Hello, thank you so much again for having me back today for another round of crafting. And thanks so much to everyone who's joining us. Welcome to my backyard. As Helen mentioned, my name is Angela, and I work with the Oakville Parent and Child Centre. And I'm here today to share with you some songs and stories, and then we'll have a chance to craft together. Today is a perfect day for this craft because we're going to make a beautiful ice sun catcher. Now, hopefully you have some beautiful sun in your backyard too. So we'll really get to see how lovely these crafts can be to bring some color to our backyards in these winter months. To get us started, I'd like to sing a little welcome song. If you feel like joining me, you can wave along and we'll sing. Good morning, good morning, good morning to you. Good morning, and how do you do? Your eyes are like sunshine, they bring me such cheer. Good morning, so glad you are here. I'm so glad you've decided to join me today. Now I want you to take a moment and look out the window at your house. And let me know what the weather is like outside your window. How's the weather? How's the weather? How's the weather today? How's the weather? How's the weather? How's the weather today? Is it raining? Not at my house. Is it windy? On Tuesday it was very windy, but today it's nice and calm. How's the weather? How's the weather? How's the weather today? Is it sunny? It is here. Is it chilly? It's definitely still a little bit chilly here in my backyard. So I had to make sure when I came outside today that I was all dressed for the winter weather. So if you feel like doing a fun little song and dance with me, I'm gonna get you to stand up and follow along. I think you'll recognize this one. I've changed it just a little bit. Goes like this. Hat and mittens, coat and boots, coat and boots, coat and boots, hat and mittens, coat and boots. I'm so cozy, how about you? Excellent. So now that we're all dressed and cozy for the weather, we can get started with our backyard adventure. And today's backyard adventure starts with a story about a child named Aspen. And Aspen was tired of the winter. It was going on for way too long. Is anybody else getting a little bit tired of the winter weather? In the spring and the summer, Aspen would spend all day in the backyard gardening, enjoying the beautiful flowers, picking colorful vegetables to have for dinner, feeling the warm sun, and breathing in the warm air. Colorful birds would sing from the trees above the garden and fly overhead. That was what Aspen missed the most. The spring and the summer and the fall were all so colorful and beautiful, but the winter could just be so dreary, you know? So Aspen decided that since they couldn't garden in the wintertime, they would try some new hobbies. What kind of hobbies do you like to do? I really like running. Aspen thought that skating looked like fun, but they kept falling down. They thought they'd try out video games, but they didn't like to sit still for that long. One morning, Aspen's mom suggested they try baking. Have you baked before? Aspen really liked this idea because they loved to eat cake. I love to eat cake too. And they thought it might be a good idea if they knew how to make it. So they mixed all the ingredients, poured it into the baking pan, put the pan in the oven, and and went out to play. When they came back, they smelled something that definitely wasn't the smell of a sweet, delicious cake. Opening the oven, Aspen looked inside and realized it was burnt. It was a solid, burnt brick, not really a cake at all. Frustrated, Aspen and their mom put on the oven mitts, took it out of the oven, and threw out the burnt mess. And Aspen tossed the cake pan into the yard and left it there to cool off while Aspen went to cool off upstairs. Now the next day, a snow had fallen and filled the baking pan. But then the sun came out in the morning, and what happened to all that snow? It started to melt. Aspen was busy inside and forgot the pan was out there. But a thirsty little animal came by for a drink. Now I want you to see if you can guess what kind of animal it was. It has feathers and it likes to fly. It's very small and it makes a sound like this. Chickadee-dee-dee. Does anyone guess a chickadee? It was a tiny little chickadee. The chickadee came, had a drink from the pan full of water, and then flew off back to their nest. But when they flew away, they dropped one of their feathers down into the water. Soon after that, another animal came by to get a drink from the pan. This animal has fur and a long tail, and you might have seen one running along my fence. Did anyone guess a squirrel? The squirrel came over, took a drink from the pan, and then scurried off back to its home. But when it did, it dropped one of the acorns it was carrying into the water. Now, as the day went on, more and more things found their way into the water. A leaf blew by from a nearby tree in the wind and landed perfectly in the pan of water. Later on in the day, a little curious raccoon came by and bumped some sticks into the water. There was a pine tree hanging right above where the pan had landed in Aspen's yard, and a pine cone dropped plop, right into the water. Aspen was inside and didn't know any of this was going on in the backyard. Now, what other animals have you seen in your backyard? Has anyone seen a skunk? Ooh. How about a fox? All of these animals might have come by to visit the pan of water for a little drink. Now, when the night fell, the temperatures got colder and colder. And what happens to water when it gets really cold? It's freezing solid in the pan. Now, Aspen woke up the next morning with the sun shining in through the window. And they looked outside and realized the pan was still out there. So they figured it was time to go out and bring it in. Stepping outside their door, it was sunny, but they realized it was still very chilly. So they walked over to pick up the pan. When they got there, they realized the pan wasn't empty anymore. It was full. There was a solid disc of ice inside the pan, filled with all sorts of interesting things. Aspen took it out and held it up to see what was inside. They noticed the leaf, the pine cone, the feather, the sticks. Wow, all of these things had fallen into the ice and frozen. And Aspen noticed how beautiful they were. They hadn't noticed before how much beauty there was in the wintertime. So Aston made a hole and put some string in the ice sun catcher and hung it up outside the kitchen window. They were reminded that winter had lots of beauty if you just knew where to look, and that sun shining in told them that spring was on the way and they'd be back in the garden before they knew it. Wow. So maybe they would give baking another try. What do you think? Should Aspen give baking another try? I'm so glad they had that sun catcher out to remind them how beautiful the winter can be. I really love winter. So I'm glad that we're going to do this craft together so that we can enjoy some of the beautiful things that winter can provide. I'm going to move you a little bit so that you can see my crafting area. Now, the nice thing about this craft is that you can use whatever you have around your house. So I've pulled out a few different things today. See if we can see them. I've got some orange slices for some color. I've got some berries. I have a little bit of cedar that I found on the path. Ooh, this is some dried marjoram from my garden. It smells really good. And even a flower from one of my friends. Here I have some food coloring in case you want to give your sun catcher a little bit of color. So you could choose whatever you have in your home to make your sun catcher. All you're going to need is some sort of container that you can make it in, some water, and maybe a little bit of freezer space. Now, I like to use a baking sheet because it's really easy to get the sun catcher out when I'm done. You're also going to need a piece of string. So the first step is to choose what you want to put in your sun catcher. So I'm going to lay out some things that I would like in mine today. I'm going to put the cedar, definitely some of these oranges for the color, my special flower, and how about, ooh, a couple of these nice berries. And the fun thing about using fruit in your sun catcher is that what's going to happen to it when you leave it out in the sun? It's not going to last forever. It's going to start to melt. So maybe a little bit of orange slices would be a tasty treat for some of the birds that like to visit my backyard. Once you have everything laid out in your pan, you're going to take your water and pour it really gently over top of everything. And it's okay if your items start to move around a little bit. Now you can decide how much water you want. If you do it nice and thin, like this one, it's about an inch thick. I find the sun shines through it a little bit better, but it won't last as long. You could do it a little thicker, like this one. It's almost 3 inches thick. It's still very beautiful, and it's going to last a little bit longer out in the sun. Now, once you've poured your water in, you'll take your string and place it in the water, like that. And then you'll take the whole thing and put it gently in your freezer. You're going to leave it in there for a few hours. Even better if you can leave it overnight to freeze. Then, the next morning, you can take it out of the freezer. It's going to look something like this. And then just pop it out, nice and easy, and see how it turned out. Now I put some berries in this one, so you can see how it made some beautiful red color. And with that string, you can hang it up outside and watch as it changes, as it starts to melt. And that's all there is to it. Now there are some other things you can do with ice. That's really fun. if you've noticed, I've made some ice cubes too. And in each one, I froze something different. So I've got an acorn in this one, so that when it melts, my squirrel friends over here might have a little snack. This one has a really pretty green plant in it. That one's got a berry, and the last one has a leaf. And I find that when you freeze all of these things inside the ice, you start to notice details about them that you might not have noticed before. So give it a try and see what happens with your ice suncatcher and what beautiful things you notice about the one that you decide to create. And I hope this gives you a few ideas of the different ways that you can try it out. Here we go. I'm going to give you one last look at Aspen's suncatcher that went with our story. Look at that. So pretty. Have fun crafting, everyone. There's so many different things you can do with things that you find in nature. And one of my favorite parts about these types of crafts is that it gives you a chance to go out and explore outside in your neighborhood and see what's there and discover new things that you might not have noticed, and maybe even see some neat animals along the way. Now, if you're interested in learning more about different crafts or activities like this one, you can follow the Oakville Parent Child Centre on our Facebook page. We are always trying to post new and interesting activities for you to try. And also check out our website, www.op-cc.ca, if you're interested in trying out any of our virtual programs. And starting in March, we're also going to have some outdoor programs as well. We hope to see you there. Now, I'm going to end my program today with a little song. So if you'd like to get active after all that crafting, you can stand up and join me, and we'll do some fun actions together. We're going to start by clapping our hands. Goodbye, goodbye, see you again. Goodbye, goodbye, see you, my friends. Goodbye, goodbye, I had fun today. I had fun today. Now, can you stomp your feet and spin around? Can you wiggle? Now jump. Goodbye, goodbye, see you again. Goodbye, goodbye, see you, my friends. Goodbye, goodbye, I had fun today. I had fun today. I had so much fun crafting with you again today. Thank you so much for joining me. Thank you to Halton Food for inviting me to be a part of this amazing week of activities. And I'd love to see how your crafts turn out. So if you would like to send me pictures, you can email them to info@opcc.ca. Thanks so much, everybody. Enjoy the rest of this beautiful day. I hope you get outside.